Hashtag after a post, 0 female worker reported me for child labor. I fought back hard. Author, Lucky Little Monster. Early that morning, I blew up the city's trending searches, all thanks to a single post, 2,000 unmarried female worker at my factory. Her complaint claimed my bring kids to work policy had ruined her working environment. But the truth was half the women on my staff were single mothers from broken marriages. I had seen how they struggled to find childcare, so I'd renovated an entire floor into a kids' amusement park and hired full-time nannies out of my own pocket to watch the children for free. Yet she'd secretly filmed footage of a couple of kids handing scissors to their mothers on the assembly line, then filed formal reports with the Women's Federation and Bureau of Education. Her accusation, I was illegally detaining children and exploiting underage free laborers. When the factory suspension and rectification notice landed on my desk, I didn't utter a single word of defense. I humbly accept all instructions and carry out rectification immediately. Right afterward, I sent a company-wide group announcement. Per higher authorities' orders, the on-site amusement park will be demolished without delay. All production lines will implement fully closed management with strict access control, and no family members or outsiders shall enter the factory premises at any time. Anyone caught bringing children to work will be terminated on the spot with zero leniency. The staff group, which had been cheering her on moments earlier, instantly erupted in wailing. Ms. Wong pushed open my office door, eyes red-rimmed, with more than a dozen female workers trailing behind her. I sat behind my desk, not lifting my head. The announcement is clear. No family members are allowed inside the factory effective immediately. But what am I supposed to do? Ms. Wong stamped her feet anxiously. My son's only 4 years old. He's always stayed upstairs in the play area. If you tear it down, I can't chain him to the side of the road. That's your personal problem. I closed the file in my hands. The factory pays you to operate sewing machines, not to look after children on company time. Miss Shun, that's downright heartless. The crowd parted to make way for Su Miao Miao, phone raised high, camera pointed straight at my face. Her factory uniform had been altered short, and she wore a full face of heavy makeup. Everyone listen up. This is the true face of a capitalist, she broadcast to her live stream audience. She acts all generous on the surface, but the second higher-ups come knocking, she takes it out on us low-wage workers. She pushed the camera even closer. Ms. Shen, dare to say this to your live stream viewers. Did you really build that amusement park just to hold kids hostage and force us to work unpaid overtime? I leaned back in my chair, staring at her. Su Miao Miao, you weren't at your workstation today. I'm standing up for workers' legal rights. She puffed out her chest indignantly. Don't change the subject. The video I filmed proves kids were working. Ms. Wong's son handed her scissors. Ms. Wong paled instantly and rushed to explain. Miao Miao, don't spread lies. He saw how tired I was and insisted on helping me pass them. It wasn't forced by the factory director. Have you been brainwashed by her? Su Miao Miao looked at her with a pained expression. She tosses you small favors and you worship her like a living deity. She's just exploiting your surplus labor. Even kids aren't spared. I watched her put on the whole show silently. Finished speaking? Su Miao Miao froze for a split second. Get back to your workstation if you're done. Also, live streaming on the production floor is prohibited. Your entire monthly performance bonus will be deducted. How dare you dock my pay, she shrieked. This is retaliation. Viewers, see for yourselves. This unscrupulous boss has a guilty conscience. Just then, Aunt Lee, who'd been standing quietly at the back, spoke up. Factory Director Shen Miao Miao's right. That amusement park just put pressure on us. Every time overtime's announced, we think of our kids eating and playing upstairs at your expense, and we don't dare turn down extra shift. It's emotional manipulation, really. Silence crashed over the office. Ms. Wong stared at Aunt Lee in disbelief. Have you lost your mind? Don't you remember how she took care of your autistic daughter? I haven't forgotten. Aunt Lee bit her lip, but I have to look out for myself. Miao Miao said if we testify together, the Women's Federation will secure special living subsidies for us, way better than slaving away here every day. A sharp, crushing weight squeezed my heart, yet my face remained completely blank. Anyone else think I've manipulated you emotionally? A murmur rippled through the crowd. Two more women who'd often dumped their kids at the park to go shopping stepped forward. To be honest, Miss Shen, this rule's way too harsh. Yeah, you can't just tear the park down out of nowhere. Su Miao Miao's grin widened as she held her phone higher. See this public opinion, Miss Shen? Restore the amusement park right now and issue a public apology, or my 100,000 live stream viewers won't let you off the hook. I stood and walked straight up to her. She instinctively stepped backward. Security. 2 security guards rushed into the office at my call. Escort these women and all their personal belongings off the premises. They're fired as of this moment. Su Miao Miao's eyes bulged, pointing at me and screaming. You can't fire me. That's a legal termination. I'll see you at the Labor Bureau. Go ahead and sue. I gestured toward the main gate. Get off my factory grounds this instant. The guards moved to grab her arms. Let go of me. Su Miao Miao struggled violently, yelling into her live stream. Everyone share this. This capitalist's throwing a fit. I'll ruin her reputation. The office door slammed shut behind them. Ms. Wong stood trembling in place. Get back to work. I sat back down and reopened my documents. But what about my son? I'll say this one last time. Either return to your sewing station or head to the finance office to collect your final paycheck. Hashtag the next morning, 8 a.m. Miss Shen, dozens of reporters are camped out at the front gate. They're all here to cover the child abuse allegations. The front desk clerk Xiao Zhou pushed in, voice shaky and tearful. I walked over to the window and glanced down. The factory iron gate was locked tight, with a dense crowd packed outside, rows of news cameras set up. Single mothers I'd employed stood trapped out front with their children in the cold wind, lost and helpless, the kids' cries carried all the way through 3 layers of glass. Su Miao Miao stood at the front of the crowd gripping a megaphone. Everyone look at this cold-hearted factory owner. She was caught exploiting child labor yesterday, and today she locks all single mothers and their kids out of the building. I headed downstairs to the gate. Countless microphones were shoved in my face the second I stepped outside. Miss Shen, why did you abruptly scrap the child care benefit program? Did you act out of spite after your child labor scheme was exposed? How can you live with yourself for barring all those mothers and children outside? Camera flashes blinded me. I stood my ground calmly. The benefit program was canceled per official rectification orders. Production floors are strictly off limits to minors by regulation. I'm merely complying with official requirements. Lies. Su Miao Miao pushed through the reporters, jabbing a finger at me. You're just retaliating against me for exposing your exploitative practices. She dragged a woman forward. Lu Mei, tell everyone what she put your child through. I recognized Lu's timid, familiar face. Half a year prior, her son had been diagnosed with leukemia, and I'd personally advanced 100,000 yuan to cover his surgery bills. She hung her head, shoulders heaving with sobs. I'm sorry, factory director Shen, I can't keep covering for you anymore. She lifted her tear-streaked face toward the cameras. That amusement park was never for our benefit. She trapped our kids there as leverage. If we refused overtime or failed to hit piece rate quotas, the nannies wouldn't feed my son. After his surgery, he was still so weak, yet she made him pick loose threads on the production floor. Gasps swept the crowd. Reporters' eyes turned sharp as blades. How could anyone be this cruel? This heartless factory must be shut down immediately. I stared at Lu Mei, my voice steady. Who drove you to the hospital to pick up your son after his surgery? Lu shrank back behind Su Miao Miao. Don't threaten me with past favors. That money was just a trick to make me sign a binding contract. I won't sacrifice my conscience for a loan. Su Miao Miao lifted her chin to the ponte. Hear that, Shen Qing? The masses see right through your false kindness. A government vehicle marked administrative law enforcement pulled over to the curb and uniform officials stepped out. The lead woman wore a Women's Federation ID badge. Ms. Shen Qing? We've received multiple formal reports of severe violations of women and children's rights at your factory. Cease all production operations immediately and cooperate with our investigation. I took the suspension notice without hesitation and signed my name. Reporters' cameras clicked non-stop. Su Miao Miao laughed aloud beside me. Justice may be delayed, but it never fails. This sweatshop deserves to close for good. I handed the pen back to the officials and turned to leave. Ms. Shun, wait. Lu Mei called out to me. I paused but didn't look back. What is it? I had no choice, she wept. Miao Miao said once the factory shuts down, the government will pay us double unemployment benefits. My son still needs expensive nutritional supplements. Your son's leukemia is cured, I said flatly, but your conscience has rotted away completely. I walked back inside, the iron gate slamming shut to block out all the noise. Xiao Zhou followed close behind, pale with terror. What do we do now? Suspend all production. What about our orders? Tell all workers to return to their dormitories and stay there. No one steps foot on the production floors without my direct order. Deputy Factory Director Chen pushed into my office holding a thermos. Miss Shen, this scandal's blown up way too big. Why don't we back down a little? Back down to who? I stared at trending news figures on my monitor. Su Miao Miao, the liar? Deputy Chen sighed and pulled out a chair to sit. Young people these days know how to stir up online hype. Traditional manufacturers like us can't afford to cross them. Major Client Joe just called. He'll cancel next quarter's entire order if this controversy doesn't die down. I paused mid-keystroke. Is that what he said? Word for word, Deputy Chen twisted open his thermos and sipped hot water. Listen to my advice. Invite Miao Miao back, give her a way to save face, and reopen the amusement park. This storm will pass instantly. Before he finished speaking, the office door flew open with a kick. Su Miao Miao strutted in with 2 young men holding live-streaming phones. Deputy Chen's exactly right. She pulled a chair across from my desk and crossed her legs casually. I came to offer you an out today, Miss Shen. Who let you in? I asked coldly. Deputy Chen brought me in. She shot him a teasing glance. Deputy Chen coughed awkwardly. Let's talk this through peacefully, Miss Shen. Su Miao Miao slapped a document down on my desk. This is the Employee Rights Protection Agreement I drafted. Sign it, and I'll post a video clarifying everything was just a misunderstanding. I scanned the document's clauses. 1. Reinstate the children's amusement park and pay monthly childcare subsidies to all single mothers. 2. Create a permanent employee rights supervisor position occupied by me with a 30,000 yuan monthly salary, private office, and 2 personal assistants. 3. All factory floor management subject to employee votes. You lose the authority to terminate staff unilaterally. A bitter laugh escaped me. Su Miao Miao, do you think you've wrapped this factory around your finger? Isn't it obvious? She leaned forward, palms flat on my desk. Everyday production stays suspended, you lose over 100,000. Major clients are ready to cut ties. You have no other option but to agree. Deputy Chen chimed in. 30,000 a month's a small price to buy peace. Treat the supervisor post as a nominal gesture to calm the crowd. I turned my gaze to Deputy Chen. Have I been too lenient with you all along? What do you mean? He looked confused. You let outsiders break into the factory on her word, then act as her mediator to pressure me into signing extortion terms. Are you my deputy director or her agent? Deputy Chen's face darkened. I'm acting for the greater good. If you dig in your heels, I can't guarantee we'll keep Client Joe or any other long-term partners. This was an open threat. He held the client contacts hostage, confident I wouldn't dare remove him. Fine then, let them cancel the orders. I leaned back in my chair. Su Miao shot to her feet. Don't be stubborn and regret this. Do you really think I won't take this all the way? Get out of my office with your agreement right now. I pointed to the door. Deputy Chen slammed his thermos down hard on the table. You're far too arrogant. This factory isn't yours alone. Su Miao rolled up the document. No use wasting words on someone who won't see reason. Let's go, Deputy Chen. She paused at the doorway to glance back at me. Tomorrow morning you'll be begging me to sign this paper. Hashtag 11 p.m. That night. Xiao Zhou called me, voice trembling badly. Miss Shun, Su Miao leaked your residential address to the citywide WeChat groups. People are inciting others to spray red paint on your house and send funeral wreaths. Don't step outside. I stood behind my living room window and spotted several shady figures loitering under streetlights, red plastic buckets in hand, gesturing toward my windows. I got it. I hung up and drew all the curtains closed tight. Hashtag next morning. I arrived at the factory to find the lobby completely blocked off as Su Miao sat on the central sofa surrounded by dozens of workers, with Deputy Chen beside her. She stood slowly when she saw me. Good morning, Miss Shun, sleep well? She nodded toward my car, still stained with dried red paint. It seems public outrage has followed you home. I ignored her and headed straight for the elevators. Stop. Su Miao darted in front to block my path, slamming a sheet of paper against the elevator doors. Everyone look, this is a child labor employment contract. She claimed clear proof I hired minors for grueling labor at rock bottom wages. Chaos erupted among the onlookers. Is this real? Hard evidence. Lu Mei pushed through the crowd. It's true. Shin forced me to sign it, threatening to withhold my son's medical treatment if I refused. She dropped to her knees, sobbing loudly. I beg you to spare us. Su Miao lum do verme. Sign this agreement, or I'll hand this contract over to the police. You'll face years in prison for illegal child labor charges. Deputy Chen handed me a fax letter. This is the termination notice from Client Zhou. 3 other major buyers have pulled their contracts too. The factory's capital chain has completely collapsed. He sighed dramatically. The writing's on the wall. Sign Miao's contract and hand over management. At least you'll keep the factory and avoid jail time. The crowd chanted loudly. Sign it. Hand the factory over. I glanced at the termination letters and the forged contract, then fixed my eyes on Su Miao's arrogant face. You think you've won for good? Of course. She leaned in and lowered her voice. Right now you're a stray dog with nowhere to run. All you can do is grovel to me. A quiet laugh escaped me. You're walking straight to your doom and don't even realize it. Su Miao's brows furrowed. Have you lost your mind? Do you want to go to prison? The one who'll be locked up isn't me. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Officer Zhang, you and your team can come in now. The glass lobby doors swung open as 4 uniformed police officers marched inside. The room fell dead silent. Su Miao scoffed. You dare call the police? That's digging your own grave. She rushed forward holding the fake contract. Officers, I'm reporting this illegal child labor factory. We have witnesses. She dragged Lu forward to give testimony, but Lu shook so hard she couldn't speak a coherent sentence. Led Officer Zhang walked straight to me instead of taking the contract. Miss Xinqing, you filed a report alleging extortion, forged commercial documents, and public disturbance. Yes, I handed over a thick file folder full of evidence. So Miao Pal, you're bluffing. What evidence could you possibly have? I walked to the large lobby screen and plugged in a USB drive. Clear surveillance footage played on screen. Sue crouching in a production corner holding a lollipop, speaking to 4-year-old Wang Sun. Hand the scissors to your mom for me, and I'll give you this candy, okay? The little boy nodded and picked up the scissors, and Sue snapped her photo at the perfect angle to frame the scene as forced labor. A stunned murmur rippled through the workers. Miao, you lied about the factory forcing kids to work? So Miao panicked. This video's edited fake footage. We'll have the forensic lab verify the authenticity, I said, switching screens to display full financial records for the amusement park. These are all expense logs, renovations, nanny salaries, children's meals, every sum transferred directly from my personal bank account. Not a cent of factory operating funds was spent there, nor did I cut employee benefits to fund it. I turned back to Sue. You claim I exploit workers. Where's your proof? Just a photo you tricked a child into posing for with candy. She grasped at her last straw, pointing at Lu. What about this contract she admitted signing? I pulled another document from the folder and handed it to the police. This is the medical aid agreement I signed with Lu Mei for her son's 100,000 yuan hospital bill, bearing both hospital stamps and her signature. As for that so-called child labor contract, I shot a cold glance at Lu. Forging official documents carries a minimum 3-year prison sentence. Are you willing to take the fall for empty promises Miao fed you? Lu collapsed to the floor. It wasn't my idea. She forced me to sign it, claiming the government would pay double unemployment benefits once the factory closed. Su Miao flew into a rage and kicked Lu hard. Useless idiot. Officer Zhang gestured to his subordinates. Take Su Miao and Lu Mei for questioning. Seize the forged contract as evidence. Handcuffs were clicked onto Su Miao's wrists as officers let her out. She struggled violently, yelling at her live stream camera. I'm a 1 million follower creator. You'll regret this. She glared daggers at me as they dragged her away. Client orders are all cancelled. Your factory's still doomed. That's none of your concern, I told her coldly. I raised my voice to address all staff watching. Starting today, the factory will suspend work with unpaid leave for 3 days. All return to dormitories immediately. Ms. Wang shouted angrily. Why suspend production? This is retaliation. Others joined in. How will we earn money these 3 months? Our families back home rely on our wages. I stood on the lobby, steps looking down at them. By law, I own this factory. Just yesterday, you all flocked online to call me a heartless capitalist, and today you demand I keep production running for your sake? Meow Meow said the government would pay double unemployment benefits. Go file those claims now if you believe her. Silence fell over the crowd. Aunt Lee forced a smile and pushed forward. We were misled by Meow Meow. Please forgive us. We'll head back to the lines right away. Too late. I cut her off. Security, clear the lobby. Dozens of guards with batons lined up to escort everyone out. Wails and complaints filled the air, yet I showed zero mercy. They needed 3 days to think clearly about their choices. Hashtag 3 days later. The factory remained dead quiet. Only the sound of arguments drifting from the dormitories. Those who'd lost piece rate pay due to suspension had turned on the troublemakers. Late that afternoon, I walked out of my office to find Lu Mei kneeling at the building entrance. She'd been released pending investigation, badly beaten by other dorm residents. She scrambled toward me, trying to grab my legs. Factory Director Shen, please, my son's fever's back and I have no money for medicine. I'll work myself to the bone for you. I stared at her utterly pathetic form without a flicker of sympathy. I gave you a chance when your son was hospitalized. You threw it away the day you lied to reporters and claimed I starved him. I was blinded by greed, she sobbed. Have mercy for my sick boy. Your son's suffering because of his selfish, foolish mother, I told the guards. Escort her off the premises. Permanent ban from the factory. Her cries faded into the distance. I spotted Deputy Chen lingering on the second floor corridor clutching a bulging black briefcase, eyes shifting nervously. The trap had finally sprung. Xiao Zhou whispered over the phone. Deputy Chen's packing client documents to take with him. Proceed as planned, I replied, heading upstairs with 2 security guards. The office door hung ajar. Chen frantically stuffed stacks of confidential files into his bag, sweat dripping down his forehead. Deputy Chen, working overtime, sorting discarded files? I pushed open the door. He jumped in shock, scattering papers everywhere. I picked one sheet off the floor, the bottom price quotation for Ocean Trading Group. Is this also waste paper? His face drained of color as he shielded the briefcase. Let me explain. No need, I said. Ever since Client Joe sent his termination letter, you've been negotiating with our competitors to hand over client lists for a senior management position. Chen dropped all pretense and slammed the bag on the desk. You left me no choice. The factory can't even cover payroll now. Do I sync with you? Who said we can't cover payroll? I asked. He pointed at me shouting, all major clients cancelled. I'm walking out of this door and ruining your reputation in the entire industry. Let him leave. I waved the guards aside. He grabbed the briefcase and hurried toward the exit, only to collide with Officer Zhang and his team outside the door. Chan Zhengwo, we have received reports of embezzlement, disclosure of trade secrets, and acceptance of large kickbacks. Please come with us for questioning. The briefcase slipped from Chen's grasp and crashed to the floor. False accusations. I submitted all bank records of your raw material kickbacks and private correspondence with rival companies to the police, I told him flatly. His legs buckled, and he collapsed to the ground. I picked up my phone and dialed Client Joe, hitting speakerphone. The performance is over. Zhou's hearty laugh echoed through the room. Great news. I'll send over next quarter's contract tomorrow, and we'll raise profit margins by 2 percentage points. Chen was dragged away by officers. The internal rot within my factory had been cleared out entirely. Now it was time to deal with Su Miao Miao, the outside troublemaker. Hashtag 8 p.m. That night, Su Miao Miao's live stream went live as scheduled, released on bail pending trial. She sat in shabby, messy clothes, red-rimmed eyes, putting on a tragic act for her viewers. No one understands my suffering. I only fought for single mother's rights, yet this capitalist framed me and locked me up for 24 hours, now threatening millions in damages. Gifts flooded her screen, viewers spamming sympathetic comments. I logged into her stream and requested a live video call. She accepted instantly, eager to humiliate me on camera. My side of the screen showed me seated in a sleek tailored suit in a bright, spacious office, a stark contrast to her disheveled appearance. Su Miao Miao. I began calmly. You're not an unmarried factory worker at all. You're 23. Your father Su Daqiang is a well-known deadbeat owing 5 million yuan in debt. You took this job hiding your identity to stir up viral content. She flew into a panic. You're invading my privacy. I pulled up chat screenshots between her and an MCN influencer incubator agency. You promised them 30,000 new followers by hyping the childcare work topic to secure a signing contract. You even collected 500 yuan in protest fees from every single mother in the factory, claiming you'd double their compensation once you won the dispute. All transfer records are in my possession. The comment section exploded in outrage. She scammed us for clout. Refund the money. Su Miao Miao tried to cover her camera in a frenzy. This is all fabricated. Officers will determine authenticity, I told her. I've submitted all fraud evidence against you. Your MCN agency also just released a statement cutting all ties and filing a breach of contract lawsuit against you. Her arms froze midair, collapsing onto her chair in despair. A crash echoed from her end of the line. Local economic crimes officers had broken into her apartment. Ms. Su Miao Miao, we're investigating your fraud case. Come with us. The feed cut to black, marked permanently banned by the platform. I set my phone down and exhaled slowly. It was all over. Hashtag next morning. The factory gates reopened, yet not every worker was allowed entry. M.S. Wang, Aunt Lee, and all others who joined Su's mob were blocked by security guards. They clung to the iron gate, weeping, clutching their termination letters. Factory Director Shin, please let us come back. My child's running a fever. I stood inside the gate, watching them coldly. The company rules state all employees who participated in mass disturbances will be fired with no chance of rehire. We were tricked by Miao Miao. Only Bagja. You used to care so much about my daughter. I cared enough to build an amusement park and cover your medical bills, I replied sharply. What did I get in return? Betrayal and fabricated accusations. My kindness is reserved for people with consciences, not ungrateful snakes who bite the hand that feeds them. Security, call the police if anyone forces entry. I walked onto the production floor, where assembly lines hummed again. Only staff who'd stayed neutral through the scandal remained, standing awkwardly as I climbed the central platform holding a microphone. New factory regulations take effect immediately. No children permitted on site at any time. Tardiness and early departures penalized per official standards. A hush fell over the room. However, as a reward for your cooperation over this crisis, base salaries will rise 20% starting next month, and full attendance bonuses doubled. Thunderous cheers erupted across the workshop. I set the microphone down. I would no longer be the soft-hearted boss who tried to save everyone. I was a business owner, labor exchanged for wages and rules, nothing more. Hashtag 3 months later. Xiao Zhou laid a newspaper on my desk. Miss Shen, Su Miao Miao's verdict's out. I sipped my coffee and asked for the sentence length. 5 years combined for fraud and extortion. Her deadbeat father fled town the second he heard her conviction. No one visits her in prison. What about Chen Jianguo? Worse, 8 years for massive embezzlement. His wife took all his money and filed for divorce. And Lu Mei and the others? After termination, she couldn't find formal work, caught stealing steel bars at a construction site, and was beaten. Aunt Li returned to her hometown only to be harassed by her abusive husband once more. None of them deserve sympathy. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window watching trucks loaded with finished goods line up at the factory gate. Client Joe's orders were fulfilled ahead of schedule, and he'd locked in multi-year extended contracts after witnessing our post-scandal efficiency. The former amusement park floor had been fully renovated into automated dust-free production workshops, cold yet reliably efficient. Miss Shen, the Women's Federation invited you to an awards conference this afternoon to share management insights for female entrepreneurs, Xiao Zhou said behind me. I adjusted my suit jacket. We won't decline. Prepare a speech comparing institutionalized corporate management over emotional favorite.